I wanted to start with
I'm not doing it.
We need to start with the. We all laugh in.
Like the fake laugh. Haha.
I just want to stress Tyler out. So he has
You're
to
stressing
find,
me out right
now. All right, we'll count it in. Go ahead, Kylie, count us in.
My head hurts.
What?
No.
He said no, unacceptable.
I got it. Ready?
Thought that we were together. Thought that we were forever, babe. Things just get to the place that I can't keep turning a blinded eye. You've been running behind my back. You've been playing imagine that. May sound crazy, but I want you back. May sound crazy, but I want you back. May sound crazy, but I want nothing but to hold ya. I wanna taste your breath. I wanna know it like the first time.
The first welcome, Southwest students, what's going on? We're not doing What Is Up Southwest students. This is our first intro because.
Wait, yes, we definitely are.
Today we're talking about things leaving behind in 2020, and that's one of them. That's
the greatest way to kick off. Hey, what is up? You say it too in your messages.
It's a joke though. It's
But
okay,
you definitely
we're busy.
genuinely say
Xavier, do the welcome.
What's up, Southwest?
Yeah.
There it is. Has he ever told you sound like Sheen from Jimmy? Just
all the
kidding.
time.
Hey,
Oh,
we are so
Lord.
excited. It is the first Wednesday night of 2021. I'm still not used to saying 2021. In fact, it is very, very weird.
Yeah.
We're here. We're doing a panel. We had our creative team decorate these wonderful things. We definitely painted walls and not the carpet. And we're just super excited to be hanging out. It's gonna be kind of a shorter service, a shorter message. We just wanted to talk about a couple things today. So are y'all cool if we just hop right in and we're gonna pretend that everybody just is like, woo?
Yeah, let's do
actually,
it.
a couple things that are coming up.
Yeah.
What happens next Wednesday, January 13th? It's a night for you.
New Year.
For you at night. It's a you night.
Oh, come on. Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
And it's glow themed.
Yep.
So we're wearing like neon and the whole shebang.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Correct. Live band, live teaching.
We should be able to see
Teaching. What is
people.
that? Who said that? That's weird. Live message.
You.
That was
Your
strange.
grandpa.
I know.
Live teaching.
I believe me. Remember last time? You're like, I'm teaching. No, but like it was a miscommunication. And what happens the week after that?
The week after that is small group
Small
kickoff.
groups. The best thing is we definitely didn't plan announcements.
No, we didn't.
Y'all are killing it. This is great though.
We both
And
got
then,
them correct. What's happening the week after that?
Actually, it's not the week after that. It's like a week and a half, 2 weeks after
I
that.
didn't
We
know
have
anything
level
was
up
Oh,
leadership, and then
yeah.
Tyler's gonna add in like
Level up.
fireworks and the whole thing.
Level up.
So a lot of stuff happening in January. So make sure if you want to come to Unite, they have to register so that you can make
Down
sure you have a
below.
spot because we're trying to keep everybody safe and healthy and all that good stuff. But it's gonna be a super fun time.
Yeah. Super stoked.
Okay, so we're calling this the Loser Panel.
Not because we're losers.
Yeah,
not because we are losers.
Not because we're losers,
Raj might be a
but
loser.
because I might be a little bit loser. Always pick last for volleyball in high school. What can I say? And softball too. I always.
And baseball and basketball.
In dodgeball, they're like, fat kid can't dodge. I can dodge a ball. I can dodge a wrench too. Only
Hey.
okay. This
Good movie.
is off the rails right now. We're calling it the Loser Panel because this. New year, new you. That's always what people say. And it's like this time where New Year happens and so we leave behind old things.
Yeah.
And so it's a loser is kind of a weird thing to call it, but we're calling it a Loser Panel because if you do these things, you're a loser. I'll just say it and then you guys can say it more pastorally later, but if you do these things, you're a loser. And I genuinely believe you can call me crazy. I believe it's in the Bible that God wants you to be the best person that you can be.
For sure.
Correct? Salvation, we talked about this a lot in student leadership. As part of salvation, when you are a Christian, you don't stay the same. You're constantly growing and becoming more like Jesus. And so part of the thing is that when you become more like Jesus, it's not just doing a bunch of extra stuff. It's actually not doing a bunch of things as well. So we actually have 5 things that today we're just going to kind of unpack. We're going to talk about. Don't be a loser.
Be a loser.
and they're basically things, I love, Daniela did this super cool art piece with this dude with the scribble brains, as we like to call him.
Those are his thoughts, by the way.
Those are his
just
thoughts.
in case you didn't know.
Yeah, whoa. And can I say something real quick that actually might make me the least popular person in the room? The new year, new you thing is crap. I think it's crap.
I don't like it either.
Can I just be totally honest? Because I think it's a good reset, but I think we shouldn't wait to make a change. We should always be making changes. And we should always be becoming the best people that we can be. I believe that as Christians, we should always be changing and growing. I shouldn't look at myself like I should look at myself a week ago and man, I've grown since even that moment. We don't need to wait till a Monday to make a big decision. We can do it now. But because it is a new year, we're going to talk about what we can leave behind in 2020 and all that good stuff. And it's not too late to change. So start now, change, grow. I'm going to ask you guys a quick question before we kind of dive into some of this stuff.
Okay.
Best moment of 2020. What was it?
Unleashed.
Unleashed.
Yeah, for sure.
What is Unleashed for people who are watching and don't know what it is?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was. It's actually like literally I came in and that was the first thing that I
It was
did.
like, you're welcome to
Yeah,
Southwest
it was.
Student.
It literally was.
I got to drive a bus all the way up with a bunch of middle school boys.
I think it was a van.
Bus? Van?
It was a van.
I definitely think it was a
there
van.
It was a short bus.
I think there's a
It
difference.
was a short bus with my bus boys.
That was
Anyway.
crazy. I remember that trip. I had to bust a fight ring. That was wild.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
You had to
well,
what?
it's just- there was a fight
Nothing.
ring. There was a
No,
fight
no, there
ring
wasn't.
happening.
There was nothing happening.
I feel like trips like that are the best.
Fight
When
ring?
we are able to do camps again, anybody who's watching, you need to go to a camp because
Oh,
I do
yes,
feel like
1000%.
typically when we have a camp like that, that's everybody's highlight of every single year. There's so many
It's
things.
so many memories are made on them too.
I don't even know if I should say this, but I'm going to
Nope,
say it.
nope.
I'm just going to do it. I don't care.
Just don't do it.
Because I think only people know. If you know, you know. If I said cookie race, anybody who.
You know what's hilarious is he said that, and that's the very
but,
first thing that came to my
anybody else
brain.
is going to be like, what? But if you know, you know. Good memories happen at camp. Memories happen
And
at
if you
camp.
know, you
Some
sadly
things
know it's
you
not
want,
even a good
you
thing to
want to forget it.
Don't wanna know this one.
Camps are the best. When we do camps
Yeah.
again. Also, similar memories I feel like are at Level Up Leadership, but that's not a plug for
Yeah.
that. We have a topic. What was your
Yeah.
favorite memory of 2020?
Probably we went to Colorado to see my brother.
Very
That was
cool.
probably.
That was
I hadn't
nice.
seen
Was
him
it
in a while.
snowing
Yeah.
at that time?
Nope, it was summertime. We hiked
just
Zion. That was
crazy.
another favorite.
Zion.
Those two together.
Zion.
And Unleashed. I have too many. Just you go.
I feel like there's a lot of good
memories.
memories. Unleashed was actually fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved internship. I think my favorite one was my best friend got married and got to go up there, and it was like, yes, Jake, I did go to a few weddings.
He went to a
I went
wedding.
to a few weddings during COVID. They make fun of me. But I think that was a super fun moment because, like, I don't know, just being with people you love is some of the best stuff. 5 things. Loser.
things.
Okay, it spells out 5 things, and I brought my phone because I had to write them down because I knew I'd forget. Number 1 is loneliness.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: you hear that, and you might go like, "Oh, if I'm lonely, I'm a loser." No. If you choose loneliness, if you choose isolation over people,
Yeah.
that makes you a loser. Not in the sense of like, "Oh, you're lame," but in the sense of you will be a lonely person, and you won't be able to achieve the things that God has for you if you don't get plugged in with other people. We're gonna unpack that. Blah blah blah. Okay. Second thing: overthinking. Any people ever struggle with overthinking? Anybody? Being superficial. The thing we talk about a lot is when you're in public, yes, wear your mask, but don't wear your mask. You know what I mean? You show up to church, right? You show up to church and you're a different
Mask
person.
off.
We're going to talk about that. 4th thing is expectations, like expectations that people have for you. I think another word would be people pleasing, but
Yeah.
we'll unpack that again.
Yeah.
And then finally, regrets. Regrets are like those wonderful baggage that we carry around. So we're going to kind of unpack those things. And the first one, let's just dive in with loneliness.
Yeah.
This 2020, was that not the ideal? That's loneliness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
And not by choice.
No.
Yeah, and being stuck inside your house.
Yeah.
It was rough. I'm actually gonna say like this, actually just this last New Year's, like on New Year's Eve / New Year's Day, that night, like I was struggling hard with loneliness. Because even though I was in Philadelphia, like I was able to go see my family, my mom, she falls asleep super early all the time.
Oh, okay.
So like 9 o'clock, she's out. So I'm like from 9 to 12 by myself. Yeah, and so I'm like, ooh, I'm about to ring in the new year.
Yeah.
By myself, you know what I
You a
mean?
solo
it's like-
party popper.
Yeah. And it was like super lame, and like, but bro, like mentally, it was rough for me.
Yeah.
It was really rough for me. And I remember just being like just wanting to go out,
Yeah.
like seeing everybody else post on Instagram and
Yeah.
Snapchat and all that other stuff. And I'm just like, bro, I'm missing out. And I had like this overwhelming sense of loneliness. And so I was like, the only thing I knew to do was like literally to get into the presence of God. So I'm in my living room by myself, and I'm just like praying it out. And honestly, like I was still struggling.
Yeah.
I was still struggling. And it just brought me, I was just like, I just got to get into my word then. So it brought me to like Psalms 27. I actually wrote it down.
Yeah.
27:10, it says, though my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. And that's kind of been a verse that's also been part of my testimony as well.
Yeah.
The idea of not being lonely, even though your immediate family kind of leaves you alone. And so I was struggling with that for
Yeah.
sure early in the year to kick it off.
Yeah. You feel like you ever struggle with loneliness?
Yeah, I feel like this year in quarantine kind of taught me, like Jesus kept reminding me, like you become what you think about yourself. And so when I sat and thinking like, okay, I'm a lonely person, I watched myself pick loneliness when I didn't necessarily have to. Like I had people to turn to, I had mentors to turn to, but because I thought I was lonely, I sat in it way longer than I needed to. And it's still like a constant reminder, like when I wake up, if I think I'm lonely, I'm gonna be lonely. But if I sit in knowing that I have people and that Jesus will never leave me, then I will not feel lonely. So I think that's what this year taught me.
One thing Joel always says that I love is he says like to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And I think it's so hard too, because like I think there's a lot of different kind of people. There's I feel like I struggle with loneliness in the sense of like I have people, but I still feel lonely. You know what I mean? And I think there's people all over the spectrum that can be like, they literally just don't have a friend. And my advice for you is if you want a friend, you gotta be a friend to people first. Like not that annoying, pesky, but just like be a friend to somebody. And what you said that was so huge, I think too, is like you went straight to God. I think God also puts people in our lives to help make us less lonely, right? Yes, go to God, but there's also people around us. I think of when Jesus was carrying the cross, right? Joseph of Arimathea, or however you said, I'm sure I'm butchering it. Like Jesus is carrying this cross, and what happens is this guy actually has to come be there for Jesus. And I'm not reading into that maybe a little bit too much, but I do think that God puts people in our lives to shoulder our burdens, right? And no matter what your struggle is, I think there are people in our life, and you have to find those people. But God has placed them 100%, 100%.
Yeah, and it definitely has to be found because you can be in a room full of people and still feel alone.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So it definitely has to be like, if you want to build those relationships, it has to come from you.
And you know, we're gonna hop around with the letters. Is that okay? We didn't plan it like this, but I think we're gonna hop around because it makes me think of the S in loser, which is superficial. And I don't know if this is too loose of a connection, but bear with me for a second. You could be in a room full of people, but still feel completely isolated.
Yes.
Because sometimes you can play the part of a friend, but not actually be a friend.
That's good.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think I think one of the biggest struggles that we face in church, just to be totally honest, is that people are superficial. Is that I show up and I'm gonna pretend like I'm everybody's best friend. I'm gonna pretend like I am the person that I should be, when in actuality, that's not who I am. What do you guys have to say about superficiality?
I put on it that like kind of goes with loneliness is find people who make you want to be a better person.
That's good.
Like if you are surrounded,
real better person, not fake better person.
If you're surrounded by people who only know you as your fake self, you'll never improve who you actually are. And so it's finding friends, finding mentors, finding a small group where you can let down and be your true self, and then they pull the best out of you. And so I think if you continue to be superficial, then you are you're technically picking loneliness because you're picking people who love you for who you're not. And so.
Oh, that's
huge.
Good.
That's huge. I had a friend in high school who he would say to me, he would go, "You've changed," and he was like so rude about it. He always be like, "You changed. I don't even know who you are." And like, then I was always so like, "Oh my gosh, like who am I? Like, why?" You know what I mean? But good. Right? Like at the end of the day, I don't know. I think your core values, who you are, should stay the same. But like we should always be becoming who we are supposed to be. Jesus said I need to stop talking so much, but Jesus said that the path is narrow, the door is narrow that you're entering through. I think that also goes with some of these masks that we put on. It's almost like we just throw on all these layers to be all these fake things, when really Jesus wants to strip those away, and who are we really supposed to be? So do you ever feel like you struggle with superficiality? That's a
oh yeah, for sure. I think a lot of times it comes with just being a pastor. I think because it has so many negative like attachments to it. I think it's for me, I've struggled really hard in telling people that I'm a pastor. And so because of that, I tend to keep that detail out of the conversation, you know, because I don't want all those negative, like, oh, he thinks this, he thinks that. But I've actually been learning to like just slowly embrace that. It's like this is who I am, like this is what I do, like this is the responsibility that I carry, like the weight that I carry. Because being a pastor like ties into every aspect of your life, you know what I mean? And even being a pastor, you know, you're still human, so you mess up, so like you try to hide that, but at the end of the day, I think, like I said, I've just been really learning to embrace who I am, what I do, like the impact, the responsibility, the weight, and that has definitely helped deepen the friendships that I have.
I feel like Simona is a great example of that. She leads a small group, but she's open with her group, right? Like and
Yeah.
she's raw, and she tells them, and she has a great balance where she's not like just unloading on her small group. Like, she's not like, oh, this is my day, but she's like open with them. And I think that's such a beautiful balance of like leading people, but also saying, but this is really who I am, and I'm messed up, and you're messed up, and you're messed up, and everybody who's sitting here is messed up, but together. Right, we're on this journey to become better. I think it's something that kind of ties with superficial, and maybe y'all can tell me no, but are basically expectations. Can you unpack a little bit what expectations mean? Like, 'cause those expectations are a good thing, but like, what do we mean when we're saying in this context?
The way I took it is, you said earlier, like people pleasing. It's where we will do nothing, like we will do everything to meet people's expectations, even if it means being superficial and changing who we are to meet them. Or I go straight to family. Like family always seems to carry these expectations, and I think that they can weigh us down if we do everything that we can to meet them and they're not healthy. Like there are healthy and unhealthy expectations. And so in this sense, we want to leave behind in 2020 the unhealthy expectations. And I think even for myself, that's where I struggle the most, is I expect so much from myself. And if I fall anything short of what I expect, then I consider myself a loser. I consider myself a failure. So that was one thing, like,
you're not what you accomplish. Right, and I think that's a hard thing is especially just like
and
Western
failure
culture.
doesn't define us. And so
totally.
expectations, I'm always thinking like with expectations, there's failure, and if you fail, then now you fail at everything. So I think leaving in 2020 is that your failure does not define you, and it never will define you. And so I think that's with expectations.
Even what you said, when people find out that you're a pastor, it's like, then there's all these expectations.
Or even just being
like,
involved in a church. Like not even like for people who may not serve or anything, but to say like, hey, I'm going to church, and then the next day you show up and they're like, well, you're not a perfect human. Like, no, that's not what church
Nash
is.
and I were, my brother Nash, we were talking before, there's a boxer who, he's listened to Hillsong before his fights, and I feel like that's always the thing, is like, I love hip hop music, and people like my if I was gonna play football or box, I'm not gonna like listen to Hillsong before, but people were like, Oceans, take me deeper. No, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I'm not doing that. Like, but it's so funny because people have this expectation. Like, you just like wear your robe and your collar, and no, I'm a human being. Like, occasionally a grandma cuts me off on the road, and I might get a little upset. A lot of it upset. But we're people, and I think there are those expectations, right?
And I think when we try to live up to everyone's expectations, that's when we do become superficial. Is you can't ever live up to every single person's expectation, and I think the more people try to do it, the faker they become, because it's not realistic.
And it's easier.
And it's, way easier.
And everybody wants you to be something different.
Yes.
That's the honest truth. Galatians 1:10, it says, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Am I trying to please people? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. And I think that verse resonated with me because a lot of people know me for who I was before.
Huge.
Yeah, you're best.
Exactly. And because of that, like for example, every time I go back to Philadelphia, like they know me as a certain person. Like, oh, that's Xavier. Like, that's the party kid. Like, So every time I go back, I have to face that. And I think a lot of times, if you try to live up to people's expectations, like every time I go back, they're like, oh, Xavier's still that party kid. Then I become a hostage to my history.
Yeah, huge.
And so like the verse says, it's like, if I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. And if anything, it's like that history, right? Like being a hostage to your history, like that's an expectation that people place on you. And because they have a limited perspective of who you are, they have a limited perspective of what you've gone through. So like I would say, like never let anyone hold you hostage to that.
Real quick, you are allowed to change. And I think like something I don't want to leave it behind. I want to murder it. I want to murder this idea that we don't let people change. Oh my gosh, how many times does somebody come to Jesus and they fix their life around, and people do that and they're like, no. How many times have I had friends who did that? I had a friend in high school, it was the same thing. He became a follower of Jesus and a Christian, and I was like, okay. Like, and that was just the thing. We need to kill that idea that people can't change, because people can, and they should. 100%. As we're gonna move forward, we have two more that we just kind of want to unpack. Overthinking. Overthinking. Anybody an overthinker? First off,
In like any and all categories.
I think you should just take this one before. Are we asking questions? What questions are we doing? What are the topics again? What are we talking? 10 out of 10. Go for it.
This, I feel like I've always struggled with it. I still struggle with it, but I think what Jesus really taught me in quarantine is it has to do with confidence, and it has to do with confidence in who I am. and it has to do with who I let speak into my life and how much weight I give people.
Yeah.
And so I think what I do a lot of the times is I give a lot of people a ton of weight. Like I give a lot of people the right to say negative things and me to continue to carry them. And so with that, I learned like it's chipping away at my confidence the more that I do that.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not confident, I question everything I say, everything I do, every action I make. And so I watched as Jesus reminded me that I am not, again, hostage to my past was one of them. And then that I belong to him and only him. And so his words are the only ones that really matter.
Yeah.
And so it turned like, who am I letting define me? And then where does my worth come from? And so I watched that as I reminded myself that my worth is only in Jesus and it can only come from Jesus.
Yeah.
That it is way harder to overthink when I know who I am.
Well, I feel like overthinking comes to an extent from a good place. And the extent of you overthink because you want to do what's right. I think at least most people do. Most people, I think, overanalyze the situation because they go, you have two choices of a path to make. I want to make the right one, so I'm going to circle in my head. I think a lot of times, and there are also other ways, but it sometimes can come from a good intention, but good intentions don't always equate to good results,
I think it's good until it takes over your life.
Yeah.
And
But
so when
I
it
would
does,
I would even say, I would even go to the extent, and again, please don't quote me, but like, I don't know, there's not always a right or wrong decision.
right.
And I think that's the
not
hard
always
thing
black
too.
and white.
It isn't always black and white, and I think you can look at a lot of situations, and even people who are going to be signing up for colleges and stuff like that. They're people who I know are going to be so overwhelmed with like, what's the right school? What's the right school? What's the right school? And to be honest, if you ask God and He doesn't just boom throw it out there, if your family did the same kind of a thing, there might not be the perfect right answer for that, right?
Yeah.
You disagree? Please disagree with me.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think you're on. I thought of overthinking like in terms of negative thoughts.
Yeah.
That's like where my mind went when you guys
Yeah.
mentioned this topic. So if you want to read Matthew chapter 6, like 25 to 34, that literally section is literally about like worrying and overthinking.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to like just focus on one verse. It was 27. It said, "Can any one of you by worrying, add an hour to your life?" And I think it's interesting because a lot of times we worry so much, like we try to plan for every possible failure. And it never comes to pass in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like at all, you know what I mean? So it's like now, not only did we miss out on enjoying the future, but we even enjoyed like missing out on now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the other thing too is like, if you don't take control of your negative thoughts, they'll run rampant in your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to just get into like this negative funk
Yeah.
and just keep it going. Like, it could be something so small, like let's say you mess up on an art project. It's like, oh, well, like I suck at art.
Like a self-portrait.
Yeah. And then
Can
it
we
goes,
throw up a picture of the
Do not,
self-portrait?
Tyler.
We're gonna put a
Tyler.
picture of the self-portrait
Tyler.
right here. This
Tyler.
is what we're.
but it's
referring to.
easy because it's like you mess up an art project, and then from an art project you're like, oh well, like I suck at this class, and it's like, oh, I suck at school,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I'm a disappointment to myself, I'm a disappointment
It's
to my
the downward
parents.
spiral. It's
yeah, I'm a
literally
disappointment to
like-
God, and then all of a sudden you're like, bro, chill out. Like you went from a mistake in an art project
Yeah.
to God is disappointed in you. Like
And it goes there from like 0 to 100.
to
Like,
quit.
Yeah.
So with all that to say, like I know there's a verse that talks about like just capturing your thoughts. 2 Corinthians 10, there it is. I destroy every claim and every reason that keeps people or myself from knowing God. And then this is the part, I keep every thought under control and in order to make it obey Christ. And I think it's super important that sometimes we have to even align not just our actions, but align even our thoughts with what God says.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible talks about like keep your mind on things that are pure, noble,
Yeah.
honest, trustworthy, right? Our thoughts, what we think about ourselves, what we think about other people, but
Yeah.
our thoughts cannot just run wild because they'll destroy us.
Yeah, and you can control them.
Yeah.
Like even when
Yes.
you think you can't, you have to start.
Yeah.
And literally, if it's whatever it is, if you have a thought that takes you to a bad place, you need to stop it. And you have to fight every single time. And I think, I don't know whoever said it was wrong, but life is not easy and life's not supposed to be easy. Like you're gonna have to fight for things.
and
You're gonna
nowhere
have
in the
to-
Bible does it say
No.
that life is going to be easy.
And I think 2020 is almost the best picture of what you were saying, even we plan for the worst. 2020 is a great picture that the worst can happen and life can still be great.
Yeah.
And I'm not diminishing. I don't know whoever's watching this, you could have had family that you lost last year. You could have people that close to you that you lost. That doesn't rob that life is still good.
Yeah.
But life it won't be good if you're overthinking, if you're doing those things. And the last thing I want to just really dive in on is baggage of regrets. And that the way I picture regrets is that's what you just lug that crap around with you.
Yeah.
And it weighs you down, it tires you out. Regrets. Let's unpack that real quick as we're kind of wrapping up.
Yeah, someone defined regrets one time. They said regrets is living through the same heartbreak experience twice. And I think oftentimes we get stuck in regrets because we fail to believe that like the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Right? Especially with 2020, it's so easy to be like, man, remember the good old days? Like remember when I used to be able to go to Disney?
Yeah.
Remember when I used to be able
Come on, don't bring that up. Just kidding.
That one is sad.
But
Really sad.
oftentimes we look back and we're like, oh, those were the good old days, and like I wish I was there. I wish I was in my past. And I think there's something beautiful in believing that God really is gonna bless us more. That God, something great is still to come. And like you said, when it comes to growth, when it comes to change, like God is always moving us forward in that direction.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
It's so cheesy. Facebook thing. You ever seen that picture of like this little girl who has the bear, and then like Jesus is talking to her, and he's got a bigger bear behind her, and there's like you have to let go of that because there's always something better. And I think the moment that we don't think that life gets better, that's a hard spot to be in. That's a really dangerous place to be in because there is always hope for the future, and life can always get better.
And I think living in your regrets is robbing God of how good he is.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you may have made some mistakes in the past. Yes, you're going to continue to make mistakes in your future, but the longer you sit in them and the longer you let them weigh you down is robbing God of how good he is and how much power he has. Like, he can bring you out of those things and he can change you. But if you're changed but still living in your past, then you're not living in who Jesus has called you to be. And so I think it's your choice to take off the weights, or it's like the chain illustration you did that one time. Like Jesus has broken your chains. Now it's your decision to take the chains off or to continue to wear them.
I think that's the thing that's like the daily fight is like, Jesus paid for your salvation. He paid for your freedom. We're the ones who hold it over ourselves. So at the end of the day, we're the ones, we carry the baggage. And I think the greatest way, the best way to help let go of some of that baggage, the best way to stop struggling with those things is to get with people. Loneliness is the first thing we talked about, but I think it honestly might be one of the most important things because when you're alone, like you're stuck. It takes a person next to you to say, hey, I need you to buck up a little bit. I need you to get to this place. So what was your one piece of advice, if you could, to anybody who's watching right now, one piece of advice?
Kung Fu Panda once said, yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's uncertain.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Today is a gift.
I definitely thought you were gonna like do something.
No, when it comes to regret, I think just believe that the best is yet to come. And that God got you.
Yeah, come on.
My one piece of advice.
One piece of advice. If somebody's just if you're writing this down, whatever it is, like what's the one piece?
I always go back to worth. I think every single one of them goes back to worth. So know who you are and whose you are, and don't give people the power to define you.
Yeah, that's good. My big one thing is going to be y'all got to get in community.
Don't do life alone.
Yeah, get with somebody, even if it's one person. Get in a small group. And we're going to say that. And honestly, if you hop on our YouTube, I hope every 5 minutes we're saying, I hope while we're doing Spice Boys and we're eating wings, we're like, join a small group. Don't do life alone.
I think another thing really fast that goes with that is people always think like my small group's gonna come to me. Like no, you need to get up and you need to seek a small group. You need to sign up for a small group. They're not gonna show up at your door automatically and be like, hey,
if you're
join
waiting
our
for
group.
a sign though, this is the sign.
This is it.
Get in a small group.
So get up, sign up for a small group, try it out.
That link's in the bio, and literally
and the description.
In the description. Wait, I say bio?
Yep.
It's in the description.
It's in both. So
Y'all
technically
just get
you're right.
in a small group and literally, we hope that you have an opportunity to kind of unpack some of this kind of stuff. A couple send-off things as we're closing. You have any questions, DM us, right? Southwest Students on Instagram. That's the best way to kind of get in touch with us. We have Unite coming up. We hope that you enjoyed this loser panel with only one loser.
Oh gosh.
The one. But guys, seriously, thank you so much for hopping on our YouTube, for being here today. We will see you guys at Unite.
Happy 2021.